Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today. We are so glad to have here you. We are so glad to have you here for what promises to be a truly enriching session. I'm delighted to have you all with us for the weekend. We truly appreciate you taking time to join us for what promises to be an insightful and highly practical session. We are joined by a highly respected speaker and legal professional whose insights span the world of intellectual property and business law, of experience in education and training both in India and the US. Before we begin, a few housekeeping reminders. Please keep your microphones on mute during the session and your cameras on. Secondly, you're encouraged to post your questions on the chat box, and we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end. The session is being recorded, and a feedback form would be shared, post which you would be eligible, and when you fill it, you would be eligible for the certificate. Every successful startup begins with a vision, but without a strong legal foundation, even the best ideas can falter. From incorporation to funding, partnership agreements to intellectual property protection, the law isn't just a formality, it is your competitive advantage. That's exactly what we're here to explore today. Our speaker will walk us through the critical legal aspects every startup founder, investor, and corporate law enthusiast must know to avoid pitfalls and also build a sustainable business. It is now my pleasure to introduce the speaker for today, Advocate Abhishek Sharma. He's a managing partner at Pulastya Legal Services LLP and an accomplished intellectual property and business law attorney with over 20 experience. Having earned his LLM from one of the top IP colleges in the United States, he brings a unique blend of global perspectives on both Indian as well as international legal frameworks. Sir specializes in trademarks, copyrights, and design protection and has advised clients across multiple industries, including startups, media, and entertainment. He's a trusted legal advisor to private equity firms as well, known for his strategic insights and his ability to craft innovative solutions for evolving business needs. Beyond his professional expertise, he is deeply committed to guiding entrepreneurs through the legal maze, ensuring that they can focus on innovation while also staying compliant. So, without further ado, let's get started. It is now my honor to invite Advocate Abhishek Sharma to take over the session. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much for introducing me. I will be, I've been doing these talks and webinars for so long, but every time somebody introduces me, it's just very weird. But I think it's just me probably. But thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'll be failing in my duties if I don't introduce. Sorry, one second, please. I'm just trying to, like I said, I'll be failing in my duties if I don't thank people at Legal Specs. I think I need to thank you for making law accessible to everybody. I also need to thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. A quick background about myself. I have been, like you mentioned, I have been a lawyer for the last 20 years. I have, uh, I have been very fortunate to join the profession. I graduated with my LLB degree in 2005. I've been very fortunate to continue to educate myself in the US by pursuing LLM in intellectual property, commerce, and technology. Again, very, very fortunate to land up with a job, in the US. And I started working with the US law firm for 8.5 years, which is where I learned most of my tricks of the trade. And At the right time, when opportunity was there, I came back home. I wanted to do something back home in India, and I was able to start my own firm in 2015. It's been around 10 and a half-ish years that I've been, practicing in my firm. My firm is called Pulastya Legal, and hopefully with Legal Specs, we'll be doing a lot more events and a lot more stuff. So you'll hear from me a lot many times. Um, I'm not sure how many people here are law students or entrepreneurs or what is the exact number, but I want all of us to take a moment and think about, why do you start a business? Why does one start a business? Okay, what are the reasons why somebody starts a business? If you are a business owner, or let's say you have a business idea as a student as of now, and you would want to someday start something of your own, why do you want to do it? Okay, just take a brief moment and ask yourself, why is it that I want to start a business? Is it because you have an idea which is great idea which is worth pursuing, or is it because you want to change the world, which is what probably people like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg must have thought? They also thought that there is a market gap. They thought that social media is not there. They thought we need something better than just an online directory. Hence, Facebook took its time to evolve where it is now. Now it's called Meta. Is it because you want some sort of financial independence? Is it because you have always envisioned for yourself that I need a lot of money? Is it because you love challenges? Is it because you feel that I can really, you know, apply those personal goals and put them into practice? Is that why you start a business, or why people start a business, or why you want to start a business? Or is it simply about creating a legacy? Is it because you really want that, I should do something which my generations can take forward? Maybe not initially, you don't feel like that because you all are most likely very young, but then eventually it'll start creeping in. Once you start, let's say, start a business and you reach somewhere, this might be a thought which comes to you, and you feel like, you know what, this might be it. This might be it. This might be a company that can live for the next 50, 60, 100, 120, 200 years, right? So whether your reasons to start a business is financial independence, or if you have a good idea, or if it's the legacy or the passion, your personal goals, or whether you feel you can change the world, whatever may be your reason, there are certain things that you cannot ignore. And the number one thing is hard work. You have to put in a lot of work. You have to take a lot of risks. There's a lot of stress and pressure that you have to go through. You have to hire people, you have to manage people. And God forbid, if you are an introvert, then you're not sure how you're going to be doing all those things as well, right? There are a lot of personal sacrifices that you have to make. You have to basically attend certain meetings. You have to, maybe not initially, but eventually you'll have to miss out on your family's birthdays, or some of the other events. It could be a Greh Pravesh, or it could be any other family engagements, right? There is a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of decision making that one has to go through when they start a business. Okay, I can speak for myself. When I started a business, I was as clueless as as a kid in a library. I wasn't sure how should I hire people, what are the platforms should I use? Is it always LinkedIn? Is it Apna Jobs? Is it Jobs? Is it, you know how does it work? Is it Naukri.com? Should I take a pro version? Should I keep it simple? Should I post a free job? Should I walk into a nearby law school? Should I pick up a phone and talk to them? If I pitch to a client and they're asking, and I've pitched to them for, let's say, 1,000 rupees, and they're asking for a discount, they say I can do it only for 400 rupees. Should I go ahead? Should I give them a 60% discount? Should A lot of decision making is involved in all these processes. There's a lot of competition. Okay, when you start your business, right? There's a lot of technological challenges that when you have that you might have to go through. Sometimes you have to buy. It could be as simple as buying a laptop, or it could be like, should I take a subscription of a software that is helpful in my business, or what? Right? The list is on and on. These are some of the things that you absolutely cannot ignore when you're planning to start your business. But one thing that you must not, and you definitely cannot ignore, is legal compliance. After all the hard work and stress and pressure and sales and all the sacrifices and the competition, you realize, array, yes, there is legal compliance also. I got to incorporate my company. I've got to fix a company. I've got to open a bank account. I have need to apply a PAN card, a TAN number, a GST number, and so on and so forth. Right? So there are a lot of legal compliance that you cannot ignore. And now these legal compliance could be, there is a word called statutory compliance. The word statutory compliance comes from the word statute, which means there is a law which asks you to do something. For example, if you have a company which has more than 10 people, You need to have a anti-sexual harassment policy, a posh policy as we call it, right? There are a lot of labor laws. You need to pay them a certain amount. You need to, if you're deducting TDS from their salary, which is called tax reduction at source, you have to deposit it to the regular people, right? Which is like to the government, sorry. So there are taxes, and then there's GST, and then there is, these days we have data protection related issues. You can't just take somebody's PAN card and just keep it with you in your WhatsApp or in your on your desktop, right? There are certain rules and regulations which are soon to be implemented, and then of course there is a whole bunch of contracts that you need to go through, right? So imagine when you start a business or when you join a business as a co-founder or as a partner, it is not just about increasing the sales and marketing and really doing a bunch of things for them which increases their revenue. There's a lot more that goes into managing and starting and managing a business. And from a legal standpoint of view, these are some of the things that you should be worried about. Now, why this discussion matters? Why have we gathered today, and we are trying to understand um, how all these things function? It matters because startups are really fast and very resource constrained. They are not sitting on crores and crores of rupees. There's a lot of risk attached to them. That's why it's important to take care of these legal issues right at the starting stage, right at the foundation stage, right? Legal mistakes that you can fix at an early stage can really help you. And if you don't, then it can really take you off track from growth. Or let's say funding. Now this is a word which probably most of the business world is fascinated about. Funding. Definitely the startups are very attracted to the word called funding, which means some third person who doesn't even know you, who gets to know you after meeting a few times, who gets to know your idea, and he realizes, hey, that's a good idea, let me just put some money into his business, let me fund his business. Okay, so this discussion will really matter. I hope at the end of the discussion that you feel that if you make legal mistakes or if you don't fix these mistakes at an early stage, then it can derail your growth. You can be stopped from growing at a decent pace, or maybe you will not get funding, right? And that's why I think a lawyer's role is not just in drafting your documents, but it also to help you further your growth. Most of the clients that I've worked with, I tell them that my job is not to bill you. My job is not to send you an invoice. My job is not to encourage you to sue somebody. My job is to make sure that I prevent those things at an early stage. Okay, my job is to tell you that prevention is better than cure, right? That's why I think a discussion like this matters. And like I said, I cannot thank Legal Specs enough to, who have facilitated this discussion. So you'll see. Now, in a typical startup, in a typical company that has recently started up, what is a typical legal ecosystem? How do they see law? How do they perceive the law, and what is their liking towards it? Do they embrace it? Are they okay to spend much money on the legal system, legal compliances or not? Let's talk about that for a second. See, a startup is very different from a traditional business. Imagine if you have your great grandfather's business. Okay, there's a lot of speed which is needed in a startup. Okay, you can't just work with a startup and say, okay, I've got an agreement that you want me to draft, I'll give it to you next month. No, you can't. There's a lot of uncertainty. Why? What happens is, because you're still learning, the business is growing. Today you need something, tomorrow you might not need something. Sometimes you hire a person in a startup and then later you realize that this person is not doing his job. It's not a government job where to remove somebody you have to go through a process, right? In fact, most of the startups will have this letter, this agreement, employment agreement, which says that there is a probation period attached to it. And if you're not useful to the startup within the first 3 months, we can let you go without notice, right? Also, there are limited resources. So keeping all that in mind, for somebody who's a legal service provider, you have to act accordingly. Okay, my sincere advice, if you're a law student, or if you're a lawyer, or if you are looking for a lawyer for your business, is that you must find a lawyer, or you must act as a lawyer who is not just a problem solver, a legal problem solver, but also helps you further your business. almost like a business advisor, almost like a co-founder. Okay, so if you're planning to hire a lawyer, you should make sure that your lawyer understands your business first. It is not about template documents that you can send out. It is not about changing names and addresses and just sending some half cooked, half baked document. No. If I understand how a software company works on a SaaS based model, I would be so invested in drafting that agreement, right? So make sure the lawyer that you're working with understands your business as well. Okay. And it's not just section 10 or section 15 or section 25 that matters. What matters is how that applies to their business. Do you have, does your lawyer have a real life experience dealing with a company such as yours? So recently we signed up a company which is into software development, and their software is, if there's any Iron Man fans in the audience, it's kind of like Jarvis. It does everything related to a lot of things. I can't disclose much, but basically they have invented Jarvis. Now imagine if I don't understand Jarvis. Imagine I walk into that meeting not understanding what Jarvis reference is, or if I had not seen the Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 and all the other Avengers movie, I would make a fool of myself, right? So if you're a legal service provider, you should make sure that you consume real world experiences also. And if you're a startup owner listening to me, then I think you should have a lawyer who understands how the real world functions. He needs to be a lawyer and advocate and everything, but what I'm trying to say is have somebody who's slightly more experienced in dealing with real life situations, right? Now let me tell you what a typical founder's mindset is. They don't care as much as they should about the legal system. Pardon my presumption here, but that's true. That's coming out of all the experiences that I've had over the years. A founder's mindset is, let's just grow the company. Okay, fine, it's okay. We'll pay the fine later. Let's just hire 50 people, 30 people, 20 people. If we don't have a posh policy, we'll figure it out. Let's just grow the damn company. Okay, I don't have patience for this. I remember very clearly I was explaining to a startup founder who hired me, by the way, to do something. And I said, Sir, I've drafted a contract. You told me that you want to understand what the contract is. This is what the contract says. If I can share my screen, I can give you top 5 clauses. And I had left out the entire contract. Okay, it was a service contract. And I wanted to give him just top 5 clauses so that I don't waste his time. And obviously, he doesn't have time. Out of those 5 clauses, also, when I was just talking about the second clause, and he's like, Arey yaar, it's too much of legal jargon. I don't understand. You have read it, right? You just take care of it. Okay. They don't have time. They got to focus on sales. They got to focus on marketing. They got to focus on HR. They got to focus on building new partnerships. What next? They're always thinking of what next, right? What they expect from you, or what, if you're an entrepreneur, what you should expect as a founder is simple business oriented solution. Sometimes some founders make the mistake of looking for a temporary solution. And I'll give you a very classic example of this. Again, one of my clients, he says, I have not signed any contracts. Okay. I just have email confirmations from people saying, great, I'll do it. I also represent a very young entrepreneur she's 24 years old, and she has a business, wonderful business. It's a cosmetic business. A lot of her orders and a lot of her sales are done through WhatsApp and Instagram. With her vendors, she has no contract at all. Okay, and I'm not even kidding. There are times when they use emojis to communicate. Okay, there was a time when she wanted something from the vendor. The vendor replied to something and said, "Ma'am, is that correct?" And this lady wrote 100 as an emoji. What does that mean? Does that mean that she's okay with the message? Does that mean she's okay with the price? Can it form a contract? We don't know. It's very difficult to prove the intention of the parties if you don't have such things in place, right? This is what sometimes, actually a lot of times, the founder's mindset is. We live in an imperfect world. Trust me, we live in an absolute imperfect world. You want to shake hands with somebody, he wants to salute you, and vice versa. It's awkward. It's very awkward when businesses are expanding, when they people want different things. Okay, sometimes they say, acha theek hai, I will give that वो पुराने रेट पे ही काम करते हैं. We'll work on the old rate. Now, what was that old rate? Nobody spoke about that. There were two invoices back in the day. One was at 10 rupees, one was at 12 rupees. Which old rate were you talking about? Obviously, the seller will think that, why will I send you at 10 rupees? Because if I've sold you at 12, you need to stick at 12. But the other person thinks, no, no, I was talking about the older invoice. There is a lot of confusion because we live in an imperfect world. We live in a world where people go back on their promises all the time. Okay. The only sane thing that can keep you happy is probably a lawyer. Okay. Believe me, the future is now. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever business practices you're trying to set up, it starts today. It starts absolutely today. Because once your clients are used to that particular habit, they're not gonna let you change that habit. If your employees in your company feel that it's okay, signing is not important, we'll see, sir won't care about it, or ma'am won't care about it, then it will be very difficult for you to tell them 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line that, look, I need proper documents. So whatever you're doing right now is going to lay the foundation for the future. So the stronger the roots are, the better it is in your business. So make sure all your legal compliances and you pay attention to the law is all I'm trying to say. Right now, what are some of these legal essentials at an early stage? What are some of the things that are absolutely important when you're starting a business, or if you're a lawyer, you should advise a company for that, right? The first thing is a co-founders agreement. What is a co-founders agreement? There are two people who come together to start a company. What is the agreement between them? Okay, that is what we need to speak about. A lot of people think that, okay, it's going to be 50-50. If there are two people, it's going to be 50-50. But believe it or not, there are so many people who in their heads thinking that it should be 60-40 because I'm doing all the hard work and I've quit my job. The other person is still working in a job. So he should get 40 and I should get 60. And they don't talk about it. Why? Because they're very excited about the idea. They're very, buried into execution of the idea that they have. And they think the idea is going to change the world, which is great. But I think it's absolutely important when you have somebody on board to just spend some time first, talk about what is your founder equity, and is it going to be 50-50, 70-30, 60-40, and then proceed forward, right? Sometimes people don't even incorporate their companies. I recently met a very wonderful artist. She was mind blowing. Some of her work I was tempted to buy some of the work, and I think most likely I will someday. She had this amazing stories behind every piece of art that she created. Okay. And she's just absolutely mind blowing. And I said, okay, you have your business, you have your brand name. Are you incorporated already? Do you have a private limited LLP? She didn't know about it. Now, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her. She might just be in the call as well. I'm not blaming her at all. What I'm trying to say is she's so soaked and neck deep into creating that art that it's easily, ignorable. And that's fine. But what is important is to pay some attention. And thank God she called me. And thank God I met her. And I gave her the understanding of how a business has to be structured. Right? IP protection. What is IP? Intellectual property. I have dedicated some slides on intellectual property in our discussions. You have to have IP protection from day one. Okay, and we'll talk about different types of IPs and how you can try to protect it. Apart from that, your basic contract hygiene, your basic agreements, your NDAs, your non-disclosure agreements, okay, your consultancy agreements. If you're a service provider, let's say I'm a lawyer, I'm providing a service to somebody, I need to have my contract in place to make sure that people don't forget to pay me, which happens a lot, by the way. But there is something known as an engagement letter that I now draft, and I send it to my clients and say, this is the time, these are the services that I'm going to provide you at this cost. These are my payment terms, etc., etc., etc. It's not some 20-page document. It's a 2 to 3 page document, but it's absolutely important for you if you are trying to manage your business and if you're trying to grow your business at a decent pace. Similarly, vendor contracts. You're procuring raw material from somebody, but they just randomly change prices. No, don't let them do that. Have them sign a contract which says that for 1 year you will lock in yourself at this particular price. Okay, I understand as a founder, you will see that you will see yourself buried in sales. You will be worried about the funding because the money is, you're losing a lot of money. There is no revenue coming in. I totally understand that, but these are the points that I've specifically listed out based on my experience, which create a lot of friction in your business. Number one, founder disputes. Like I said, if you don't have an agreement or a contract with your partner, which talks about what is your equity, or if one of the founders has to exit the company, how much is he going to get? On what basis will you calculate it? Those will really come back to bite you in the backside. Okay, we see it all the time. In fact, with Facebook, we saw that. If you've seen the movie Social Network, you'll see that even founders have these issues. They were friends, still they ended up having these issues, right? So that is something you should definitely pay attention to. And the second one is IP ownership disputes. Let's say you have a company, a wonderful company where you came up with this wonderful idea, but let's say I came up with this wonderful idea about legal education, but I am not a technical person who's going to create an app. Okay, so I hire one of you, or hire a tech person to create an app for me. Now the law says that the IP stays with the person who creates it, unless there is an agreement to the contrary. Okay, now as usual, I'm a business owner, I'm a startup owner who's just worried about sales, and I'm constantly thinking, how much should I charge law students for this, or etc etc, or which law school should I tie up with? Should I make it global? Should I keep it local? Should it be on App Store or Play Store? I'm constantly thinking about it. But in the process, what I realize is that the IP belongs to the person who I hired. Okay, and he's not even formally transferred the intellectual property to me. That can create a lot of friction. So imagine, all the implementation of my idea stays with the person who implemented it on my behalf. I mean, I paid him a lot of money to do that, but there was no agreement, and I typically just ignored, in a normal fashion, typically ignored the legal compliance part. That can be a point of friction for a startup. Over reliance on NDAs. Now, what is a non-disclosure agreement? If, let's say, I have some information in my business that I want to disclose to you, and you are an investor, okay, I'm seeking some funding from you, and I say, sir, ma'am, this is a mind-blowing business that I have. It's a mobile app. It does this, blah blah blah. And then I say, okay, before I give you my financial information or my idea, you should sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means you will not disclose this information to any third party. Why? Because if you do, they might also come up with a similar app, or you yourself might come up with a similar app, right? So I will sign an NDA. Now, what I'm not doing is, I'm not filing a copyright on it or a patent on it. Okay, depending on the nature of the dispute. Sometimes people just, in the NDA, it says that you will keep the information confidential for 6 months. Okay, and you, in the spirit of getting funding, in the you're trying to, you're very restless for funding, you just sign the NDA. Now, after 6 months, the term is over. After 6 months, this gentleman can easily disclose this information to anybody and start a competing business. So don't over rely also on NDAs. And like I said, talk to a lawyer of your choice who can help you with these things. Okay. Compliance related delays. You have not filed your GST, you have not paid TDSs. When you go to an investor, he's going to ask for all these documents. He'll be like, you have 26 employees and only 8 have signed documents, and your payroll says that you only have, and you pay them in cash. How does that work? Right? So make sure you comply with all these things, otherwise there'll be funding delays. And like I said, you have to start seeing lawyers as problem solvers. If you don't see lawyers as problem solvers, that's a big problem. If you see them as cost, if you see them as cost to as a expect, like, you, whatever money you pay to them, you feel like, "Arey, it's just not giving me any worth. It's just a lot of expenses that I'm incurring." No, it's not. It's a cost of doing business, and it's a healthy cost of doing business. Okay, I would say it's an investment, because he's trying to protect you from all the potential problems that you're gonna get into in your business. Okay, these could be some other points of friction points of these could be some of the trouble areas that a startup can fall into. Now, let me tell you this: when you go to an investor, okay, you've got this wonderful idea of this whatever app you're coming up with, and you feel is the next big thing, and it does all these wonderful things. I need some money. I need, let's say, 20 lakh rupees to start my business, right? What will the investor look for? Why will he give you that 50 lakh rupees that you're asking for? And he'll say, okay, I need to see if the IP belongs to you. You say it's a mind blowing idea. You say it's a wonderful painting. Does the painting belong to you? Does the software belong to you? And if yes, show me the documents. If it's not assigned to the company, if it is not transferred in the name of the company, why will I put money into the company? Because technically the company doesn't own the intellectual property. The consultant that you hired to develop the software, he owns the intellectual property. So why should I invest into the company, right? They're also looking at clean shareholding. Okay, I don't need to see there are 56 people who are investors in your company, and if they are, they need to have proper documents. Okay, I need to see that you have a substantive stake in the company. It should not happen that to take 1 lakh, that you have taken 1 lakh 50,000, 60,000, 2 lakh, 3 lakh from different parties, and you have given away the equity of the company to them. If you are a startup owner, equity is it can be a lot more valuable. Don't give out your equity just because you can't pay somebody to do something. Okay, as an investor, they're looking for a clean shareholding and a cap table. They're looking for ESOPs, which means employee stock options. They need to see what is the structure of your company. So, like I said, talk to a lawyer, talk to a CA of your choice. They are definitely looking for all compliances. They want to make sure that you have filed TDS, you have filed PF, Provident Fund. You've also complied with the PT, which is professional tax. You have taken care of ESI if you fall into that category, employee state insurance. You've complied with every single law that is there to be. There is a fire NOC if you're a factory. Then there is a fire department in NOC that you have if you're a restaurant. There is a FSSAI license that you have to manufacture food. They are going to be looking for all these things, right? They also will see at some point of time that you're ready for legal compliance. They will see if you're ready or if you are okay to be audited financially by a third party. And if you say, here is a report by my lawyer or here's the report by my CA, why should they trust it? They will have a CA of their choice review these documents, correct? So if the minute you say, well, it's not needed, I've already recently done it, something fishy. They will feel that it's something fishy. Again, in one of the recent cases that I handled, one of my existing clients, he faced the same issue. He was investing in a company, and then the company said, no, no, very recently we have done that, and why do we waste money? And so we had to get back to him saying, don't worry, we'll take care of the money, we'll take care of the expenses, but we need that done. And one of the questions was, who owns the IP? And the IP was not even filed. They didn't even file a trademark for their brand. Okay, this is what the funders or the investors are looking for, and if they don't get it, there will be a lot of friction. You can expect a lot of friction. Now, what is the role of lawyers? I understand that some of the people on the call are wannabe lawyers or law students. What is the role of a lawyer in such situations? Okay, you need to translate the legal risk into business terms. Okay, don't tell him section 10 violation will mean that. Tell him how does it affect his business. Tell him, if you don't pay the taxes, if you don't deduct it, if you don't do this, you will get a GST notice of this amount, and with the penalties, it might go up to a certain particular amount. Translate him into the language that he understands. Translate that information, the legal information or the risk, into a language that he understands. If you can do that, if you can speak his language, that is a good lawyer right there. Okay, you have to be flexible. Okay, you need to decide if it has to be a flat fees, if it has to be a package deal, if it has to be on a retainer basis. Retainer basis means that you hire a lawyer on a monthly basis. It's almost like you're hiring a separate employee of your own, a legal employee. Okay, flat fees is, there is irrespective of the number of hours that it takes on a particular agreement or a particular project, You pay him a flat fee of, whatever, 10,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, whatever. Okay. Or you can even have certain packages. So as a lawyer, you got to be a little flexible in doing all those things. Okay. You have to be, you have to build trust with the client. Trust me, they don't come easy. These days there is so much competition. There are so many lawyers, which is great. It's a healthy competition. If you have to stand out, you have to be responsive all the freaking time. You have to be responsive to all their messages. And I've had cases where I'm, let's say, driving, or if I'm in a troubled situations, there are times when I have to stop the car and respond to something, attend to something. Similarly, you have to be clear as to what are our chances of winning a particular case, or how much it's going to cost them. Again, a very common thing that we as lawyers sometimes do is we feel a little odd about telling our fees to them. We feel a little odd about quoting our fees. Don't do that, because tomorrow when you give them a surprise invoice, they're not going to pay it. Okay, so be transparent, be clear, and be responsive all the time. Um, there are times when I've had situations where if I give them a particular advice, it'll help my billings. If I ask them that, what, you have 15 employees, you should have 15 agreements. It would have helped me. The client would have paid me for 15 agreements. But what I basically did was I told them, what, no, you need two different types of templates, one for full-time employees, one for part-time employees. I will give you two templates. Pay me for those two templates, and your admin can change names and change whatever job titles, and then you can basically take it forward. Okay, so you have to really further the business. You have to focus on growing their business. Okay, that's what a role of a good lawyer would be. If you have to work effectively with startups, like I said, you have to understand their priorities, their cost, the speed. Everybody wants everything today. Okay, everybody. They'll be like, sir, I'm sending you something. Can you give it to me by end of the EOD is a phrase that I use so often. Sir, can I have it EOD? Yes, everything has to happen EOD. Okay, so you need to balance your time if you need to work with startups. uh, you can be creative with other clients. Okay, you can show off your legal jargon quite a bit, or sometimes in an email. I remember we were working with the client, and the opposing counsel, or the opposite counsel in that particular case, he used to always write these heavy legal emails. I think almost he was using ChatGPT for it, I'm not sure, but they were so complicated, and it was this long, but it did not address the questions that we asked. Okay, so every time we had to get on a call and ask him those questions, and he said, yeah, that's what I meant. No, you need to avoid the legal jargon. Okay, but you need to make sure that you provide solutions to the client. You have to give practical advice. You have to be business friendly. If you think something is not going to work, or if there is a possibility of taking a risk, you tell them, but you tell them how to mitigate that risk. Okay, like I said, clear and trustworthy communications is also very, very important. Now, what is the takeaway for young lawyers? Like I said, you need to understand law and business both. Okay, if you're a if you're a law student at this point of time, um, don't just focus on the law, because your law will be applied to business, and unfortunately, your law school will not teach you how a business functions. So when you do your internships, okay, or when you have any free time, try and learn how a software company functions. If you have cousins, if you have your dad and mom, or if you have your friends working in some other divisions, talk to them. Have that curiosity as to how their companies are working. There is recently a company, it's a digital marketing agency, and we recently signed them up. I wasn't 100% sure how a digital marketing agency works, but I sat in their office for 6 days. Okay, and they would love it. They loved it. Why? Because I had access to all their documents. I was a lawyer ready to talk to them in their office anytime they want. And I it was a there was also co-working space next door. So I rented that, and I understood their business entirely. And then it was a easy peasy thing for me to assist them. Right. Like I said, you have to help them. You have to push for cleaning that legal hygiene, which is compliances and contracts. Um, you have to if you see a lot of problem with a startup, if you see a lot of friction in the startup, that's where you need to step up. Okay, that's where you need to show off a little bit and add real value to the company. Okay, you have to balance protection with progress. There should be contracts, but sometimes the contract should not be 30 pages because nobody's going to sign it. So balance protection with progress. Okay. Now imagine for a company owner, there is a hard work, there is risk and pressure and technology, and all this is taken away. Imagine that. If you're a business owner, imagine that, right? It's such a waste of everybody's time, and that's why I always say prevention is better than cure. Okay, once you land up in a court or land up in trouble or you receive a legal notice, we don't have a magic wand. Lawyers don't have a magic wand. Okay, who can just wave it in the air and make all your problems go away. That's not going to happen, sir or ma'am. Prevention is absolutely better than cure. Okay, which brings me to my topic of business contracts. I'm going to give you some insight as to what type of business contracts are there in a typical startup, depending on the nature of your startup, and how you can draft them. I'm not going to show you drafting because of paucity of time. It's not needed also. But what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind? Okay. Now, what are some of the practical FAQs? One thing that I get asked all the time is an agreement and contract the same thing? Well, no, legally no. All contracts are agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. An agreement between you and me to kill a third party is not a contract. It could be an agreement, but it's not enforceable by law. Okay. So what you're looking at is a contract. What we lawyers do is we need to draft contracts. Okay. You and I can agree to steal something. Okay, so agreement is not, I mean, yeah, technically, once you study, there will be offer, acceptance, and etc. It's an agreement, but it's not a contract. So you need to look at contracts. Is there a law in India for agreements, or is it just common sense? Believe me, these are absolutely real questions that my clients, my potential clients, have asked me. That's why I've put them in the FAQ section. Is there a law in India, or is it just common sense? Well, yeah, law is partly common sense, but there is a law in India that we have called the Indian Contract Act. Okay, and it's very exhaustive, very beautifully drafted. I've been practicing it for so many 20 years and plus. You need to pay attention to it. Can we use an existing template or a template from the internet? Please don't do it. If you're a startup owner listening to me, please don't do it. Okay, not all templates, it's not a one size fits all approach. Okay, there is a reason why uh, there are different laws and different rules and different situations. Okay, and different contracts can help you, customized contracts can help you with with all these different situations. So you can look at a template from the internet to understand how it is, or you can even customize it, but have it legally reviewed by a lawyer who's going to tell you, hopefully, who's going to tell you what is the problem with that particular contract. Okay, do not use use a template just from the internet, because you don't even know if the internet is giving you the right template. You don't know if it's if it's valid for India or not. It could be valid in the US or the UK, but is it valid for India? We don't know, right? Now, what are the various types of business agreements? um, Typically, in a business, you have partnership agreements, which defines the business partners' roles, their contributions, their profits. You have employment contracts. If you're hiring somebody, it tells the person's designation, title, roles and responsibilities, salary, holidays, probation, uh, intellectual property, confidentiality, etc., etc. Right? You have non-disclosure agreements, like I said, where confidential information can be protected. The misuse of data cannot happen if you have an NDA in place. There are lease agreements. Again, this is a common contract. I think whenever you have an office, you're trying to rent a space. If you can buy it, great. But if you want to initially rent a space, there are documents that you need to sign to lease a particular office space. I'm going to take 30 seconds to explain you how a lease agreement and a leave and license agreement functions. This is something that I've been talking about for so many years. Uh, there are lawyers who don't understand the difference between lease agreement and leave and license agreement. I can take a whole lecture around what is the difference between lease and leave and license. But bottom line is, when you go to a hotel, the you don't take possession, the legal possession of the hotel room. So you have a license to use the premises. Okay, but the master key or the master possession stays with the hotel. In a lease, you become the tenant. So you rent out a particular stuff. In leave and license, you don't rent out a particular thing. Okay. Now, this is why am I telling this to you? This is a legal concept that a lot of people don't understand. It's definitely startup owners don't understand this. Why? First of all, they're not lawyers. Second of all, they are excited to start an office. They are impatient to get into a new office and start up a business. What in the pro and this is again a real life situation where because he was getting a good deal, he signed a lease for 5 years. He signed a contract for 5 years. And now after 2 years, they need to get out of the place. There was a lock-in period for 5 years. Now, only if he would have used his brain or spoken to somebody who's a lawyer, I would have tried to get him out of the situation. And there was a clause which said that if you break the lease before 5 years, the security deposit goes away. The security deposit was 10 lakh rupees. So how do you handle all these things, right? So these are the type of issues that as a startup owner, you need a lawyer by your side. Definitely in your favorites, contact favorites, or on speed dial who can help you with these things. Okay. Other type of agreements are vendor agreements, which talks about a whole bunch of stuff. What are the products or services that they'll provide? What is the delivery, payment terms, quality standards? What if there is a delivery of a particular product at your place and half of the things are broken? Is there a clause which deals with such situations in your contract? So if not, there has to be one. What are SLAs, service level agreements? Okay, service level agreements are agreements where you as a startup owner either are providing a service to somebody or you are receiving somebody else's service. Let's say you're hiring a CA and he's providing services to you. What kind of services? What are the overall responsibilities of the CA? Okay, now this might be too much work for you as a startup owner, but this is a bread and butter for any lawyer. He can easily help you. It's like if you're a software company owner, it's like me telling you how to code. That's not how it works. And I understand you got to save costs. I understand you got to keep things tight. But in the process of keeping things tight, you can't walk into a wall. Okay? You cannot, as simple as that, you cannot do everything yourself. All right. You have contract manufacturing agreements. Let's say this lady who's a cosmetic company owner, she gets those cosmetics manufactured at some place. After she signed us up, I said, "Show me your contract manufacturing agreement," and she's like, "I don't have it." He's my mom's friend's cousin, so we kind of trust him. That's like I said, if the world trusted each other, you would not need the legal system at all, right? That's not. We live in an imperfect world, right? So you got to take care of those things as well. Joint venture agreements, consultancy agreements, distribution agreements. Okay, you have intellectual property agreements, which means if you have created this artist that I was talking about, if she creates a painting and I hire her to create a particular painting, that that painting has to be transferred to me, not orally, not with an emoji, not because I paid for it. Yes, I did. I still need a piece of document which says the legal rights belong to me. Right? Franchise agreements, another very common type of agreement. I have a restaurant owner who's a friend of mine. He wants to, and a client of mine, he wants to give franchisees in nearby cities. And he wants to just make sure that, and thank God he came to me at the right time because I was not representing him in other things earlier. But he came to me and he said, "Listen, I'm trying to expand my business. What is this franchise agreement? Do I need to worry about it?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. You need to worry about it." So we sat down, we wrote a document called an SOP document, a branding document, which basically listed how his restaurant functions. Also, it listed all the recipes. It listed the color combination, the kind of texture that he uses on his furniture. Who's the person who's selling him chairs? The same person has to sell chairs to the other franchise owners. It's like going into McDonald's and not really knowing if it's McDonald's A or McDonald's B or McDonald's C because all of them taste the same, right? The McAloo Tikki burger that you get in McDonald's X is the same that you get in McDonald's Y, right? That's how franchise agreement works. So you need somebody to take care of that as well. IP licensing agreements, again something which is very common in the software industry. You give a license to use a particular software. That has to be governed by a typical agreement. Sometimes, in fact, very recently, I drafted a business transfer agreement. The entire business, all the assets and liabilities were sold to a third party. So they took over the company. So there has to be a business transfer agreement. Okay, these are all various types of business agreements that a startup or a company might encounter. So you have to really pay attention to it. And guess what? Not just these agreements, and the list goes on and on. But with changing times, we've seen other agreements as well. We have seen e-commerce agreements. When you download the Amazon app first time, or let's say when you look at Amazon's terms and conditions, that's an e-commerce agreement. Okay, it talks about the payment processing, the return policy, the terms of use, the refund clause, so on and so forth. Right. Similarly, we have remote work agreements. Okay, not just your typical employment agreements, but we have remote agreements which talk about your availability. Like, for example, if you have a employment agreement, the employee is in the office, but how do you track or manage an employee who's not in the office? Okay, there are requirements for such people to log into a particular system and make sure that, or maybe to sometimes be available. So there is a policy that whenever you are taking a call, your camera has to be on, right? So those policies have to be written in a particular um, remote work agreement. There are white labeling agreements, very common in the pharmaceutical industry. You cannot set up a factory to produce all the medicines that you are selling. Okay, so in that case, you get into a white labeling agreement, which means somebody is going to produce manufacture those medicines, but the label on it will be yours. What they will give you is a white label, and you write your name on top of it, right? So those are some of the things that you need to put in a particular contract. It's very common in food and beverages, cosmetics, software. You'll be surprised to know that the Pepsi that you drink is not at a facility which is owned by Pepsi. There's another company who manufactures it and bottles it, and then you receive it. Okay. With changing times, we've also seen things like data sharing agreements. I'm licensing all the data to you. For what purposes? It has to be written in the contract. Okay. Listen, what I'm trying to tell you, sir, I mean, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is a collective evolution which is happening. There are different models, there are different business models. Startups are having different types of needs these days, and these are leading to changes in relationships, different types of agreements. Hence, I think it's only fair that your mindset needs to change, right? There is a constant need to manage your legal hygiene so that you can focus more on business. Don't you want to grow your business? Don't you want to hire sales? If you get stuck in drafting a contract for 6 hours to save 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, what about the opportunity cost? What about the pitch that you had to give to another distributor or a big seller? Okay. And I think all this is because I cannot stress enough as to why retaining a lawyer is absolutely essential for your business, right? Um, Very quickly, I'm going to give you some insight on, there are a lot of people who might still feel that, no, I can handle my contracts. It's okay. And it happens all the time. Again, whenever I'm speaking to a potential client and I say, sir, you need to do this, you need to do that, he's like, all right, don't worry, I'll handle it. Can you handle this phrase, notwithstanding anything contained in this agreement? If you can draft your agreements. Do you know what is force majeure as a startup owner? If you can, and if you can draft a clause, legally binding clause around it, you're fine. Do you know what is third party indemnity or indemnity in general? If not, please talk to a lawyer of your choice. Do you know what is severability? Do you know what is a waiver clause? Do you know what is an assignment clause? Do you know what are liquidated damages? There are liquidated and unliquidated damages. Do you know the difference between damage and damages? If you can, fine. You can probably take a stab at it. But do you know what jurisdiction you should choose for your contracts? Obviously, the preference should be that it should be yours. But sometimes it's okay to choose the other person's jurisdiction. Okay, if you already have a lawyer, I think your lawyer should already know these things. And if he doesn't, maybe you should change your lawyer, right? Do you understand what is a agreement with a capital A and agreement with a small a? You need to understand what is a term with a capital T and a term with a small t. These are very fine legal concepts. You can't ignore that. You really cannot ignore these. What is the difference between damage and damages? Damage is the is the problem that has happened. The damage is the violation that has happened, but damages is the compensation that you get or are you seeking, right? Can you draft a good scope of work clause? What about the payment clause? What about the confidentiality clause, the liability and indemnification clause, termination clause, IP clause, compliance with laws clause, dispute resolution clause, force majeure I've already covered. These are really, really important clauses, and I really frown when I see a contract which doesn't really, and I cringe when I see a contract which doesn't have these clauses. Okay, there are many people who say, are all of them important? What if you don't have an arbitration? I forgot arbitration clause here. What if a contract doesn't have arbitration clause? See, clauses are the backbone of an agreement. Okay, they are carefully tailored to your needs. So yes, all of them are important. Okay, and you should hire somebody who's, I'm not saying hire me, I'm just saying talk to a lawyer of your choice. Talk to somebody who's experienced in doing these things. Like I said, have somebody who not just manages agreements but takes care of all other frictions in your company as well, whether it's incorporation related, IP related, and so on and so forth. You need to be able to manage the risk. You need to be able to manage the risk, and legal risk can really bring you down, right? So what can I do now? What can you do now? If you're a startup owner, if you feel that I have not done any of this, I have not had enough contracts, or I kind of messed up. Yeah, I'm working with a software developer, but I don't have a contract with him. What can I do now? Please change your mindset. Number one, because this is not a problem. This is not a one-time problem. It's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you. Change your mindset about the lawyers, the legal system, the law in general, and don't think you'll get away with it. The best of the people have always thought that they will get away with it. I don't want to name names, but you know who I'm talking about. They had to flee the country. You can't bypass the law. As simple as that. Nobody is above the law. As simple as that. So change your mindset. Find a lawyer of your choice. You pick up a phone and talk to a lawyer, not your uncle's choice, not your dad's choice, not your CA's choice. A very, very common thing that happens in our country is we have worked with a chartered accountant to incorporate our company, and we often call that person, Bhaiya, koi lawyer bata, sir, koi lawyer bataiye acha. He will tell you a lawyer who's expert at property laws or real estate laws. Can he draft your software subscription contract? I am not sure. You speak to that lawyer. You find out what kind of contracts has he drafted. Ask him what kind of clients has he represented. Maybe ask for some references. It doesn't harm, right? So not your uncle's choice, find a lawyer of your choice. I see this as a problem with a lot of businesses which have father and son. Father always calls the shots, and the son, when he doesn't even want to deal with a lawyer or a CA. Why? Because it's too cringeworthy. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't understand half the things that this uncle is saying. Why? Because he's too old, and he's very tally like CA. You want somebody who's a very Zoho books kind of a CA, right? He doesn't even have an Instagram account. He's not even there on LinkedIn, so you don't know what he does. Okay, or his office is not that cool. Okay, so if you are taking over a business, or if you are calling shots in your business, please talk to a lawyer of your choice. Also, damage control is important. Let's say now you have a lawyer on board. Okay, but what about the contract that you signed 6 months ago? Okay, discuss everything, all agreements, all problems, all issues with your lawyer. Again, a personal example, when I work with clients on a retainer basis, which means on a monthly fixed fee basis, I always offer them one full day in a month where I work out from their office. Sorry, I said work out, where I work out of their office, which means I am available 10 to 8 in their office for any and every problem that they have. Okay. And this is not just a once a month thing. There are weekly calls. Okay, my Friday is filled with calls, and I speak to them and I say, "How's it going? Kya chal raha hai?" And then they say, well, this is, and I have to sometimes extract the information from them. Did you give any recent pitches? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I gave this pitch recently. Did you sign an NDA? No. Why? So I have to do damage control and immediately send an NDA to that person and say, hey, recently I said to one Mr. Sumit, I said, hey, Mr. Sumit, XYZ person forgot to send you the NDA. My name is Abhishek. I'm the general counsel for XYZ company. Please find attached the NDA. I look forward to receiving it so that we can proceed further. Within no time, I received a signed NDA and then we took it forward. So discuss, if you're a startup owner, discuss your existing contracts and have them track all of it. Okay. Also have agreements with everybody. If you're a startup owner, if you're a lawyer who works with the startup, or if you're in the process of starting your own company, have agreements with everybody. Everybody, no exceptions. I'm not saying have a 30-page agreement with everybody. I'm just saying have an agreement with everybody. Never, ever sign a document without legal review. You're not a lawyer. Sorry. Send it to your lawyer and say, quickly skim through it. Don't be excited to get funding. Don't be excited to sign up a new client. Don't be overexcited in anything. You know, so have it legally reviewed and then you can go ahead and sign it. Train your team, educate your team, and help them understand how these things and problems occur. You can literally prevent. I conducted recently a training on how to spot legal issues at one of my clients' place. There was no legal discussion whatsoever. It was called how to spot legal issues. And what I did was I had been copied on certain emails. I took screenshot of those emails and I discussed it on a projector and I said, why did you write this? You should have written this. Or why did you send the quotation before an NDA? You should have said in the email, thank you so much for your interest. I am copying my general counsel or lawyer who will send you the NDA and we can proceed further. Doesn't harm. You might lose one client. You might lose two clients. You might lose 5 clients. But the 20 clients that you have are always going to pay you on time. They will have a great working relationship with you. You will not have money stuck in the market. Do you want to have 25 clients with a lot of money stuck in the market, or do you want to have 15 clients with no money stuck in the market? Choice is yours. So that's what you can do now. Some more FAQs. Again, based on my experiences, our lawyers and advocates the same. I got recently asked by a potential client, "Sir, आप lawyer है कि advocate है?" A lawyer is somebody who's done his law, who's done his LLB degree. An advocate is somebody who's licensed to practice, who's given the bar exam, and who has a bar license to practice, and who's registered with the bar, at least one state bar council of India. Can CAs be helpful? No. CAs cannot be always helpful in drafting contracts. They are extremely competent with what they do. I can't do half of the things that CA, or not even 10% of the things that a CA can. But can CAs do the legal compliance work? Probably not as much as one would expect. Can all lawyers and advocates draft agreements? No. No, absolutely not. Here's another question that I recently got asked, not so recent, but like a few months ago. Can ChatGPT draft agreements? Let's find out. Today in the afternoon, I asked ChatGPT, can ChatGPT replace lawyers for drafting agreements in India? Can ChatGPT draft agreements that will hold good in a court of law? That was my precise question. I see that there is a hand raised. We can obviously take questions at a later time. If you can just allow me to finish this. Can ChatGPT replace lawyers? I found this. No, not entirely. ChatGPT or any AI tool can assist in drafting agreements by creating first draft, suggesting standard clauses, highlighting risk. Lawyers do far more than draft words. They interpret how the law applies. They anticipate disputes and draft proper clauses. I don't want to brag about it, but you can see the rest of it. They negotiate commercial terms and so on and so forth. AI cannot yet replace the judgment, strategy, and accountability that a licensed lawyer provides. It goes further. Can ChatGPT draft agreements that will hold good in a court of law? In principle, yes, but only if reviewed by a qualified lawyer. Okay. AI may miss statutory requirements. AI may use generic or foreign templates that are not aligned with the Indian laws. You can be you can be smart and say, well, I will give a prompt which says Indian laws. So that's what I asked. I spoke about drafting agreements in India. And I said that did hold good in a court of law. It said no, right? The practical way forward. ChatGPT is suggesting me a practical way forward. AI can help save time, but every agreement should go through a lawyer's review before signing. Okay. Along with good drafting, you must ensure stamping, registration, and areas where lawyers are indispensable. Okay. Bottom line, ChatGPT can assist but cannot replace lawyers in India. Thank God for that. For now, who knows? Time will tell. If it happens in the future, I'll probably pick up a job with legal specs or work with another company. But as of now, at least the legal professionals are fine. The point is not to brag about the legal professionals. The point is to educate everybody on the risks that are attached to using or over relying on ChatGPT for your legal agreements. Right? So let's not make this mistake. Is just signing the agreements enough? Can we just sign the agreements and just be okay with that? No. You need to ensure that both the parties sign the agreements with the company's seal. Okay. The documents are being signed between the parties, not your personal names. So we need the company seals. We should maintain a list of all agreements. We should track when are they due for renewals. Okay. If there is any updated discussions that have happened, you need to change your existing agreement once a year. Or if you have templates, you need to change the templates once a year. Right? I'm quickly also going to talk about intellectual property. But before I do that, I don't mind taking one or two questions if the admin from Legal Specs allows me. Can we take questions now, ma'am, or should I just continue and should we just wait for me to finish?
So you could take like one or two questions and then maybe we could leave it to the end.
Okay, wonderful.
Guys, the participants, if you all have any questions which you'd like to ask sir, please raise your hands and you can unmute yourself once sir is aware that you have a question.
Mr. Azim has raised a hand. Yes, Mr. Azim, if you can please turn on your camera and talk, that'll be wonderful.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible. Can you please turn on your camera if that's okay?
Sir, it's not comfortable for me now.
All right, no problem. Please go ahead.
Sir, my question was that as you mentioned the commonly used terms in contract, the one more term you have not mentioned and you have discussed it. What would be?
It was arbitration. I was talking about arbitration. There is a clause which is generally drafted in the contracts which talks about arbitration, which means that if there is a violation of a contract between the parties, then both the parties will not directly go to the courts. They will hire a third party arbitrator, an independent arbitrator, and it's an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. You don't go to the courts directly, but you hire somebody to basically solve your dispute outside the court. That's what I meant.
Thank you.
I can take one more question if it's there.
So there's a question with regards to how you can draft an NDA for an MNC company. Would you like to take that later or would you be comfortable, talking about it right now?
No, we can talk. How we can draft an NDA. Is that the question? How we can draft an NDA?
Yes, sir, that was the question.
Okay. See, if I don't know if you're a law student or a lawyer or a business owner. If you're a business owner, please talk to a lawyer who can help you draft an NDA. But I draft an NDA from my mind because I've drafted so many NDAs over the years. So you can look at templates online, like I said, but it's only to understand how an NDA works. You have to customize the NDA. Like, I'll give you a small example. The purpose of the NDA is to make sure that your confidential information is protected. Now you have to define what a confidential information is. Okay. Now, what is confidential information in your business? Only you can define. So, for example, if the artist that I recently met and I'm in talks with to become her general counsel, if we have to define an NDA for her, I will say that her confidential information is the thought behind the painting itself, obviously, any sketches that she has drawn, any emails that she has spoken about, any briefings that she's had with the client, any notes, any summaries, any phone calls, uh, any discussions that she's had with respect to the particular painting, any brand names, so on and so forth. So, depending on your nature of your business, you need to define a particular clause. There are some, I must admit that there are some clauses which can be templatized, but not all. There are very few. Like, for example, a counterparts clause can be templatized in a way, or a waiver clause can probably be templatized in a certain way. But again, depends on between the parties. How do you draft an NDA is it's a skill that is developed over the years. If you have any specific question regarding a particular clause, I can help you with that. Anthony Robinson has mentioned something which says, "Sir, I'm a law student. I see this in the chats. Sir, I'm a law student. I'm also interested in doing the financial business like non-banking. I'm also having the space for office. What I have to do initially to complete its legal protection, security, and verification? What are the documents I want to get from the debtors?" Mr. Anthony Robinson, you need to. This is a long. It's a simple question, but a long answer. To have a NBFC, there are a lot of legal requirements, not just branding and contracts. Um, I don't know if we can talk separately, or you should talk to Preksha ma'am separately, or talk to a lawyer who can help you with these things. I don't think it'll be possible for me to discuss everything on call right now. I'm really sorry for that. Okay, I think in the interest of time, we should proceed forward. I will quickly go through the rest of the slides, and then I'll be open to take other questions as well, and we can continue from there. All right. So now that we've understood how there are different types of friction that can happen in a business, there are so many best practices that you can follow. I'm going to quickly talk about the concept of intellectual property, which is very, very relevant for every single business that is out there. Now, what is intellectual property? It is anything that you create out of your intellect. Okay. So, for example, Anthony has a business which is into it's a non-banking financial institute, NBFC. Um, then I'm sure it has a brand name. I'm sure it has a name. That name is his intellectual property. Okay. So anything that you create out of your intellect, the artist that I'm representing, the paintings that she creates is her intellectual property. Any let's say presentation or pitch deck that you have created for your company is your intellectual property. So anything in your business which is originally created by you is called intellectual property. But it must be new. It must have some utility. It must not be copied from somewhere, obviously, and it must be recorded. It should. You can't say that I had it in my brain and somebody took it. You can't say I have an idea that I can protect. You cannot protect an idea that is there in my mind, in your mind. You can protect the expression of the idea. Okay. What are some of the examples of intellectual property? Mobile phones. Somebody thought that landlines is a very, very boring way. Even hands-free devices, or even like cordless phones, are really not up to the mark because they have a range limit. We need to have a mobile phone that can go all over the world. Somebody thought it's a great idea to have a movie. Somebody thought it's a great idea to have another movie, and then one more movie. There are different concepts, different scripts, different musics, different actings, different productions, designs, names. Everything is intellectual property. Somebody thought that usually we have a picture of Taj Mahal. All of us have gone to Taj Mahal and we've taken that picture where we try to top our hand on top of the top of the Taj Mahal. But somebody thought, no, let's take an aerial shot of the Taj Mahal, maybe from a helicopter or from a drone. I don't know where this picture is taken from. It's not my picture, but I'm just using it for educational purposes. Somebody thought that creative works are important, like Lion King. It's a great story. The Nirma girl, was a great creative thing. Chacha Chaudhary. I don't know if many of you know Chacha Chaudhary, but back in the day, he was a great a comic character. We had you know comics coming out of Chacha Chaudhary's stories. Then we have sketches of Mr. Al Pacino, Mary Com. You have books that are written. I recently read this book, mind blowing, strongly recommended. Somebody thought brands, SBI looks like this, Instagram, Wipro, Airtel, Radisson, Haldiram. These are all brand names, and we're surrounded by brand names left, right, and center. These brands are also examples of intellectual property. Product packaging, right? These are also, how do you package a wet wipe? This is how they wanted to package a wet wipe. So that's great. There is a lid, you open it and you seal it back, right? There are new designs, new chair designs. These are all examples of intellectual properties. Rather than having a boring chair in your office, they thought, no, I should have like a chair which looks like a banana has been peeled off and you're sitting inside the banana or something, or a pillow, okay, which looks like you're sleeping next to somebody, and that I think is a wonderful design. So these are all examples of intellectual properties. But what I'm trying to tell you is, in your business, if you have a new and useful invention, okay, you have to file a patent for it. If there is a brand name or a logo or a slogan that you have, you should file a trademark for it. So, for example, my firm's name is Pulastya Legal, right? The name Pulastya Legal, I want to protect because I want to make sure that nobody else uses it. Even the logo that I have has to be trademarked so that nobody else uses a similar logo. If you're an artist, or if you have any literature, let's say you have the product booklet. If you're selling products, you have a product booklet. If you're an artist, all your paintings. If you're a script writer, all your dramatic work, music work, your even your sound recordings, they're all protected under copyrights. Okay. If you have a unique shape and configuration of a product which is very appealing to the eye, so for example, you all must have seen the heart-shaped balloons that we get, right? So they're not reinventing the balloons. They're not saying that our balloons are stronger or it won't burst or something. They're just making it look different. Or if you have eaten Britannia Little Hearts, right? They're not claiming that we are the ones who invented a cookie or a biscuit. They're just saying that they're not even saying that the sugary biscuit is ours. There are other sugary biscuits also which have a small sugar sprinkled over it. They're not even saying that. They're just saying that it's in the shape of a heart, and it's called Little Hearts. So that's our intellectual property around it, right? So you decide as a business owner, if you have an invention, you have to file a patent for it. If you have a brand name or a logo or a slogan, you should file a trademark for it. If you have any literary work, by literary work, I mean anything. It could be a poem, it could be a story, it could be even a presentation that you made for your business. This presentation, if I want, I can claim copyright for this as well. Or I have other presentations also that I use. Designs, like I said, for products which are unique in shape. Why understanding IP is important for you as a business owner? Because you came up with the idea, and the idea is going to convert itself into some sort of monetary benefit to you. So if you don't protect the idea per se, okay, it'll be really difficult for you to monetize or commercialize that particular idea, right? I'm going to take very specific examples of one or two types of intellectual property. One is trademarks. Trademarks is used for goods or services which are used in commerce. So if you have a product, like I said, I'm selling a service. Legal specs is selling a service, okay? Or companies like Bisleri, they're selling a physical product, okay? It's not a service, it's a physical product. So they need to trademark these things. Registration of a trademark under law is not mandatory, but you have a lot of benefits if you protect it under the law. It's as simple as this. If you have a house, there is no law which says that you have to lock the door every night from inside. But there are laws which says that if somebody walks into your door or trespasses your house, what will happen? There are rules which says that you have to register your house in your name. But it's not mandatory. Trademark registration is not mandatory. There are a lot of benefits. I strongly recommend that you file trademark registrations in your company, in the name of a company. You also have to use it. You can't just randomly file trademarks and sit on it. You have to use your trademarks in the market and not just register them. Whoever uses the trademarks first gets superior rights. Once you file a trademark, once you start using a trademark, you can use a small TM on top of it until it is registered. After registration, you can use the word R in a circle on top of it. What are some of the best practices? File a trademark application, choose a lawyer who can help you find a correct class. If your products are going outside, there is nothing known as a global trademark registration. So you need to choose different countries in which your brand is going, and then you can file trademark protection. You can take trademark protection in these multiple countries. For copyrights, like I said, it's a bundle of rights. It gives you rights for reproducing, publishing, distributing, broadcast. Songs are a classic example of broadcasting. You have Spotify, right? Spotify has so many songs and podcasts. They're all copyright protected by the producer, by the music record labels. Okay. What is the purpose? It is to encourage the artists and the owners to make sure that they monetize it. Otherwise, why will they create a song and not, if they don't get any money out of it, they will not be motivated to create more and more, right? Like I said, literary work, you have books, collection of poems, including your software. So in India, software is protected under copyright laws. Um, if your software is unique enough and it falls under the legal requirements of an invention, you can explore filing a patent for it. But largely, copyright software is treated as literary work, and you should be able to file a copyright application for the source code of your software that you have developed. Painting, sculpture, drawings, maps, charts, plans, all these are covered under artistic works. Your movies, your short, if you're a content creator, if you're making those Instagram reels, you can protect those reels in your name. If you have a short film, feature film, whatever, you can protect them under the laws of copyrights. You have written a play, you have choreographed a show. All these things are protected under copyright laws. If you make music, if you're a music director, or if you're a music enthusiast, your written musical scores can be in the form of sheets, can be filed under copyright laws as well. Even product packaging can be protected. Like how I showed you Johnson's and Johnson's ka baby wipes, you can protect your packaging, product packaging under copyright laws. And if someone copies it, you can take legal action against it. Um, this is a client of mine based out of somewhere in Hyderabad, and they sell BDs. And they recently came up with this product packaging. They wanted to protect it. We helped them protect it, and it's all good. So I'm not saying only Johnson and Johnson products get protections. Any you could be a startup, you could be mid-level companies, or a listed company. You can always protect your product packagings under law equally, right? Why do you want to protect product packagings? Because there are people out there who are very notorious. There will always be somebody who does a catcaught, and the Kit Kat owners should be worried if there is a catcaught in the market. I don't want to eat legs. I want to eat Lays, and I want Lays to protect themselves against these notorious people who are coming up with these fake namkeens or chips called legs. So that's why. So what's our take home today? Our take home today is that if you're a startup owner, I think it's time to at least start thinking about changing your mindset. Once you learn and understand and appreciate that the law is on your side, a lot of good things will happen. You need to hire a lawyer of your choice. Mind you, your is the keyword. You need to hire a lawyer of your choice. You need to budget for legal work. Again, a very common thing that I hear from startup owners is, "Sir, karna to hai, budget nahi hai." So you got to budget for it, because it's like hiring a financial person in your company. How long will you make invoices? How long will you create ledger reports? How long will you send ledgers to your clients? You need a chartered accountant to take care of all these things, right? So as a business owner, you cannot do everything by yourself. It's not advised. You can try, but um, more often than not, you'll end up failing. So budget for legal work in your company. Create a culture in your company that we are a legally compliant company. Tell everybody that you hire. Don't hire anybody on an email. Okay. Again, a recent example of another client of mine is that they received an email saying, "Great, thank you so much. You are hereby hired, and see you Monday." No, that's not how you hire an employee. So he spoke to me, and I said, send an email to them saying, please send me my offer letter, send me the contract. And obviously he has not received it yet, but we'll see. Create a culture in your company which is pro compliance. Okay, and keep learning, keep attending these sessions, keep talking to other entrepreneurs who help you become a better entrepreneur, and keep learning from as many places as possible. Thank you so much. With these words, I'd like to conclude what I had to say. I hope I didn't take time, but I have some time. I have a lot of time for questions. I'll be more than happy to assist. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you scan the QR code on your screen. My email address is also there on the screen. It's Abhishek at Pulastya Legal. I'll be more than happy to assist you in anything and everything that I can. Thank you. Let's have some questions.
Thank you, sir. Those of you who have questions and you want to ask directly, please raise your hand. Otherwise, you can put up your questions on the chat box and we take them one by one.
Mr. Satish Kumar, he raised a hand. Sir, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Satish.
Sir, first of all, a big thanks for covering almost every aspect of subject within such a short period of time. So, first
Thank
of all, thank you so much. And
you.
presently, sir, I have no any specific question, but I would be very happy to join if there is any specific certificate kind of course that would be delivered by you or in collaboration with legal aspects. It will be really helpful for aspiring lawyers if there is any such certification course presently or in future, if you plan, because I think it is such a vast topic, a full course can be designed over it. So we enjoyed a lot and we learned a lot. Within just 1 hour you covered a number of things. I'm really thankful to you.
You're most welcome, Satish. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad this all struck a chord with you. Yes, there is a discussion happening between us about a particular course. I have already created a first draft of it. You will hear from Legal Specs very soon. Payal Rumta, I see your message. You're also interested in a certificate course. I think we'll talk about it separately. Please connect with Legal Specs
Yes,
independently. Stay connected with me also if you want to. My LinkedIn QR code is there.
yes,
Um,
sir. I already have been connected. I sent
wonderful,
you request today ago,
wonderful.
and you accepted it, thankfully.
Wonderful. Yes, wonderful. I must have. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. There will be lots and lots of courses. I think Legal Specs also has a bunch of other courses.
Yeah.
But if you like what I had to offer, I'll be. We can really deal with other things. Thank you.
Thank you to ma'am as well because she's putting a lot of efforts in bringing back-to-back seminar webinars. So thank you, ma'am. I am looking forward for any such courses.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Satish. Sir, there's a question on the chat box. When disagreements arise between founders, what legal mechanisms are most effective for the resolution of those issues?
Wonderful, Mr. Azim. Very good question. I think whenever there is a disagreement between founders, you have to go back to the founders' agreement that you have. I'm presuming in your question there is no founders' agreement. That's why the dispute is there. Because if there was a dispute, then they would have stuck to the founders' agreement. Usually, what happens is the founders' agreement will have issues. Sorry, will have clauses which talks about arbitration or preliminary negotiations, and most of the disputes are sorted out with that. If not, you hire a third party arbitrator and they take care of it. If there is no agreement or if the arbitration fails, you go to the court. But if there is no agreement, more often than not, what happens is you try and again hire a person who has been a mentor to your business, or let's say it could be even a client of yours, okay, or it could be even a vendor of yours, or it could be one of your parents, or you need to have that open discussion. You should openly communicate with each other. but also create a record of the communication, meet the person, and tell them that these are the potential areas of dispute. Let's say the dispute could be only with respect to certain clients. Okay, so you can say, I want to handle only 5 clients, I don't want to handle the rest of the clients. If you come on the table and talk openly, it is my experience, a lot of problems can be solved. Let's say if still the problems cannot be solved and you have to take legal action, then you talk to a lawyer who will help you draft a legal notice. Okay, when you draft a legal notice, the purpose of legal notice is to let the other party know what is it that you want. And I think before you go to a lawyer, you should ask yourself, what do you want? Do you want more money? Do you want more stake in the company? Do you want to stop working in the company? What do you want? If you're able to tell yourself, this is what I want, and if you're able to justify to yourself and to lawyers or to the other people that, okay, this is what I want, if you're able to justify it, then you're in the right way, and then you can proceed forward with sending a legal notice. You will give them some time to respond to it. You can also say that in the legal notice, I'm not trying to threaten you to sue. I'm just trying to have an open conversation. I'm trying to tell you that this is how we should be solving this dispute. And again, more often than not, it has been my experience where nobody wants to the court. Honestly, nobody wants to go to the court. Okay, including some of the lawyers. They prefer that, if we can set it out, we can settle these disputes outside the court. That will be wonderful. So take those steps, and then hopefully things will get. I think as long as you have clarity what you want, and you are able to communicate to the other person, I think you should be able to make some progress in the dispute resolution. Does that help? Yes, I see your message. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Great. Thank you.
So there's another question from Azim itself.
Okay.
He's asking, as a second year law student, I had some prior exposure to drafting through a few sessions, which helped me understand the basic format and structure. However, attending your insightful session truly gave me clarity on the finer aspects, such as what must not be overlooked, the significance of specific terms, the impact of precise usage. And he's sincerely grateful for the guidance, as he often finds himself confused at this stage of learning.
Wonderful. Good. I'm glad it struck a chord with you. Keep learning. Keep practicing. I think it'll be you'll get there. Thank you, Ria. I receive your compliments. Thank you so much. I shared with the Legal Specs team. It's absolutely a wonderful session, and I'm looking forward to doing many more with Legal Specs in the future as well. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Manoj, for your compliments. I have
Ariba,
one that
I'm
we
so sorry.
missed. Yes.
Ariba, if you want Sir's LinkedIn, it is the QR code. You just need to scan it, and it'll lead you to Sir's profile.
I think there was one more question that we missed somewhere in the chats. It was asked by Mr. Taranbir Singh, and he said, "Sir, how to handle a legal notice in an MNC?" In an MNCs. Taranbir, are you there by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Taranbir, can you please explain your question a little bit? Are you a part of an MNC, or has the MNC received a legal notice from somebody? What is the
Yes, sir. I am a law student, and there are sometimes aspects when we see that many of the MNCs receive many legal notices from third parties or any, you can say, provider or clients. So, how to deal with that, sir?
few steps? Number one, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it at all. You may know who has sent you the legal notice, still don't ignore it. Number two, open the document and read it 3 times, 4 times to make sure that you are absolutely aware of the content. What happens is sometimes when you're reading a document, and even a law student and a lawyer goes through this emotion. So I'm gonna tell you this. When we read a document, we realize in the first few lines who has sent us the legal notice. Okay, and in the first few lines, our ears are turning red. Okay. Why? Because we know that he's wrong, he's lying. And there is a preset notion in our mind that whatever he's written or she's written after the first two paragraphs is crap, is wrong, is a lie. Okay. And in that emotion, we don't pay attention to the content of the legal notice. So have an unbiased reading of the legal notice. Read it 2 3 times to make sure that you understand every word of it. Okay. If you ask me, I come from the generation where paper reading is different from the electronic reading.
Yes,
Whenever I receive a legal notice, I take a printout of it. Still, okay, and I basically read every word, every line, and I understand what the dispute is. Then, of course, I need to look at. So, if it's an MNC, you need to speak to the speak to the respective departments. I'm sure if it's a marketing related issue or a finance related issue, talk to them. Share the legal notice with them that we have received this legal notice addressing this problem. Let's sit and talk about it. This should happen within the first 2 3 days. Okay. Usually, legal notice gives you 7 days or 15 days to respond. So, one or two within the first 2 3 days, you should do this exercise. Have an open discussion and find out what is your side of the story. And then every legal notice that you receive must be responded to. Okay. If the legal notice is is I don't know if it's outside your domain, then talk to a lawyer or talk to a person who can help you draft a legal notice to it, a legal notice reply. But otherwise, you should start collecting points. You should start drafting your points, and you should respond to the legal notice accordingly.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Taranveer. I have one more question by Mr. Azim again. If you had to give just one piece of legal advice to a law student, what it would be? Just one is very difficult, yeah. Just one is very, very difficult. Can I give three? I'm going to try three. Even three is less, but I'll try. Number one is um, number one is uh, be patient and learn to listen. Okay. Number two, don't skim through the law. Don't take the shortcut because this is a profession which is not shortcut oriented. If there is a 60-page judgment, read the entire 60-page judgment. Don't find uh, and don't use Instagram knowledge that a smarter person finds a small faster way to do. I get it, I understand that, but don't take shortcuts. Okay. You need to understand the center and the top and left and right and all corners of the judgments. Okay. So number one, have your patience and learn to listen. Number two, develop a habit of reading and analyzing. And uh, number three, understand that this is a marathon. This is not a race. You should not aim to earn more than somebody or be a bigger lawyer than somebody. Um, keep your calm and keep moving on. Like I said, I've been in the practice for the last 20 years, but even every day today, I get up with a bounce. I get up with a with a peppy feeling in my stomach, saying, "Come on, let's do this." Okay. So yeah, so think, be patient, keep your calm, and just keep moving on and be in it for the longer run. That's what I would say. Sir, can you repeat number three? Yes. So the number three was that maintain your calm and think of this as a marathon. The legal profession is a marathon. It's not a race, it's a marathon. So if you have chosen this profession, it'll give you a lot of goodness, it'll give you a lot of things, but you just have to, keep your calm and treat it as a marathon. Ariba says, sir, six. Sorry, it is very difficult to fit everything in three, so I try to be smart and give you six. I can give you six more, but I think these six are the basic ones. Satish, sir, few books if you like to recommend us. Yes, let me see if I can fetch one book for you. Um, There is a book called The Best Thing About You Is You. I think I took it to my office. It's by Mr. Anupam Kher. It says, The best thing about you is you. And that's why I put it in my presentation also. Very simple book, very coffee table book, not very complicated. But it just tells you that you're enough. It tells you that you're okay. You're fine. We often judge ourselves way too much. We are very strict on ourselves. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's going to be okay. Just don't think of yourself as less. That's my number one book. The other book that I have is again, it's in my office, I think. Yeah, there it is. I think everybody knows about this book. Instagram has
It's
advertised.
famous. Mm. It's very famous.
Yeah,
Atomic
it's a very good book. It's a very good book. I learned a lot from it. And the third book the last book I recommend is called The One Thing. It's a very small book. It's called The One Thing. It basically taught me not to multitask, and it told me that multitasking is a myth. Whenever you're doing something, just give your 100% to that particular thing. If you have other thoughts in your mind simultaneously, like if you had multiple thoughts during my presentation, that means you need to read the book. If you thought somewhere during my presentation that, oh, I forgot to do this and I forgot to do that, or when will I do all these things, when will I speak like sir in a presentation like this, all these thoughts are wonderful, but if you were not 100% focused on my presentation alone, then I think you need to read the book called The One Thing. It's a wonderful book. So yeah, those are some of the books. There are many, but these are some of the books. I recently got this book gifted yesterday by a law school. I gave lecture at a law school recently. This book is called Justice, Thou Shalt Pursue by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a Supreme Court judge in the US. I've not read it. I'm not sure, but yeah, books never end for us. So great. Mr. Anthony says, sir, I have a small confusion after completing my degree. Which side I have to approach? Good corporate lawyer, knowledgeable person, or PP, public prosecutor, government side with political influence, which will be helpful for our future? Anthony, this is a question that only you can answer. Absolutely, you can answer. I still have feelings where I think that I should have been a litigator or I should have been a criminal lawyer. Grass is always green on the other side. Okay. But I think if you read the book, The Best Thing About You Is You, and then if you ask this question to yourself, you will get a better answer. You have to decide your calling. Are you behind fame? Are you behind knowledge? Are you behind government side with political influence? Do you want to speak well? Do you want to give it back to the society? What's your purpose? What's your calling of being a lawyer? If your calling of being a lawyer is to earn a lot of money, maybe being a PP will be a good idea. Even corporate lawyer will be a good idea. So I'm sorry, brother, I can't answer this question for you. You have to really dig deep in yourself. But what I can do is, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, and if I understand you a little bit more, I'll be more than happy to have a small video call with you one on one and give you some insights on how you. I can tell you how you can choose this reaching this decision, and then you'll have to take it on your own. I hope that helps. Mr. Azim says, Mr. Satish says, thank you, sir, for the suggestions, and we maybe get this beautiful PPT is just a request. I will think about it. I usually don't share my PPTs because it's my copyright, but I will. Let me think about it. If we can remove some of the stuff, and if I can give the crux of it, then I don't mind sharing it with you if it can help you. Mr. Reem says, thank you so much 100 times for such an insightful session. You're most welcome, sir. Mohammed Salik, Mr. Mohammed Salik, I'm pursuing a BA LB final in Government Law College. Is it difficult to get placed in companies? No, absolutely not. You have to understand which companies are you applying for, what's your skill. Basically, before you approaching a company, you should be able to sell yourself. You should be able to represent yourself. If you have a pitch that is good enough to impress the companies, then why not? Why not? Why do you feel you're not good enough? Why are you feeling that if it's a government law college, in uh, Tirunelveli, then it's difficult for you to know. It's not difficult. I can share a very personal story within 30 seconds. I was born in a very lower middle class family in Delhi, but I ended up going to the US to pursue my LLM. And I think if I tell that story to anybody in my family, when I told everybody in my family that I wanted to go to the US, they were like, you know what, you've lost it, forget about it. And practically also there was nothing working out for me. We had no money. I didn't even know the difference between a visa and a passport, and there was no internet. I had to really speak to a lot of people. Okay, if I can do it, I think anybody and everybody can do it. So as long as you are able to carve yourself in the right manner with the right guidance, like I said, I will be happy to have a quick call. I think Legal Specs also does a lot of these sessions for, right, ma'am? You do a lot of training programs for law students, and
Yes.
help them come up in a much better manner.
Yeah.
So you can connect with them, you can connect with me. It's one and the same thing. Whatever helps you, brother, we can easily help. Sushmita, yes, please provide the PPT for us. Okay, let me think about it. Thank you, sir. Sir, please, we want this. Okay, Taranbir, I will try my best. Definitely, sir, it's your copyright and discretion too. I agree, Satish. Thank you so much. Ariba Ali, yes, this is the best platform I found till now. Very humble team. Great, I agree. That is the reason why I'm working with Legal Specs. I love them. I love the responsiveness they have, the commitment that they have towards folks in the legal profession. So yeah,
Are there any more questions? Okay. Sir, I'm assuming there are no more questions. So on behalf of everybody here,
yes, I
I'd
think
like
so.
to... Sorry, sir. Yes, please tell me.
No, that's it. I don't think there are any other questions. I think we're all
Yes.
done.
Yeah. So on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to extend my gratitude as well as everybody's to you for sharing your experience with us. Your ability to combine the academic clarity with also hands-on experience has helped us understand not just the letter of the law, but also the practical aspects and the reality of law. To all our participants, we hope you leave the session with practical insights and a heart full of knowledge and a brain full of questions unanswered, and you can explore yourself further. Kindly fill the details carefully in the feedback form, only on the basis of which you would be receiving your certificate of participation in this webinar. Please stay connected with us. You have Abhishek Sir's LinkedIn, you have Legal Specs. It's there on your WhatsApp, is there on your LinkedIn. Please go ahead and follow Sir. Stay connected with Sir. Stay connected with us, and stay tuned. We have another session coming up tomorrow as well. Please make sure that you join for that, Sir. I would like to personally invite you for that. It is
Yes,
Professor Simon Bogan. He is from Swansea University. If you
yes,
would like to be there.
I would
Uh,
love.
yes, sir. Please stay tuned with us for more such powerful practice-oriented sessions. Until then, stay sharp and stay curious and keep learning. Thank you all. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.